I find myself desperately clinging to these last days of spring as the summer solstice draws near. It has truly been one of the most magical and transformative seasons of my entire life, and I never want it to end. Funny enough, this journey and the fateful week all started because of this past winter. I worked myself far too much and ended up fiercely burned out. I came to the point where 2 days off, of which I would almost never take both or either, simply weren't enough. Even having 2 days off, I simply couldn't recover. I ended up taking my first break from this job I'd had for a year at the time. And while that itself is a great story, I'll simply say that taking those 3 days off empowered me to start working a little less and take a well-deserved week off for my birthday in spring. Spring truly starts for some in many different ways. Some feel it starts March 1st, others spring break. Some believe it only starts on the equinox. For me, spring starts on April 1st. And it starts, as all great things in my life do, with a new notebook and a list. My spring fun list. I was going to call it my spring goals list, but I decided that I didn't want the pressure of a list of goals. Just another laundry list of things to tick off at the end of the day didn't sound very appealing to me. I wanted more of a guide, a way to look at the things I know I want to do, but may end up forgetting to do in the present moment. I don't have to do a single thing on this list, unless I want to. No deadlines, no time limits, just a guide. And the first item I've decided to tick off this list is painting outside. I have always loved the idea of painting outside, letting the world around me be all the inspiration I need. The problem I always had was I either wasn't allowed to go outside, or it would be sweltering or full of wasps. Where I live now seems to be no different. A yard full of clover is lovely, but bees and ticks are an ever-present danger. But then I realized one of the chained coffee places here has an outdoor seating area that is not only cast in shadow by noon every day this time of year, but there's actually a ridge and a cliff face near it that has trees and ivy growing. The idea couldn't have been more perfect. So, during that first week of April, I set out almost every afternoon, work and energy permitting, to paint, and it was wonderful. I have very limited footage because I was so invested in my painting and then my drawing. This is the only painting I completed, and it did take nearly a week. I also did some drawings with some of my pens and markers. The weather was always perfect, sunny and windy with big fluffy clouds in the sky. I had to cut my fun short though, unfortunately. Would you believe that I was stalked by a yellow jacket? Day after day, he would show up and buzz about my work. One day I was standing up to take a break as my legs had fallen asleep, and I felt a tap on my shoulder, and then another, and then another. I thought, how strange. My braid is hitting me in the shoulder when I'm not moving. I felt it twice more. Guess who? I guess he really liked the jacket I was wearing because he was bumping into me and chasing me around. He actually chased me into the cafe twice, and yes, the baristas saw me. It was short-lived, but it felt so freeing. Now, I will say right now that I did not catch any butterflies like it says on the list. We have a strained relationship, and I tend to leave them be. Alas, there was no spring picnic either. I was so looking forward to having one, but there just isn't a good picnic place around here. I did put an emphasis on my spring clothes. As funny as it sounds, after about 8, I never had specific seasonal wardrobes. Even after moving somewhere that got to -10 in the winter and around 100 in the summer, I simply had the same clothes the entire time. Another issue is the only clothes shopping I've done is for my job, which did suit my style when I started, but working where I do, they prefer we wear either all black or mostly black. I adore my pinstripe shirt because I get to look like Jack Skellington all day, but I really want to wear colors and patterns that when I look at them, they make me happy. I figure we decorate our houses because the decorations make us happy. We decorate our cars because it makes us happy. And I would really like to decorate myself to make myself happy. So I wanted to get a full spring wardrobe. And where better to find clothes and jewelry than one of my favorite places, TJ Maxx. I really wanted to create that sort of visual separation between my work and my time off. For my clothes, I wanted to focus on getting pieces I would not be allowed to wear to work. I typically wear clothes that I would be able to wear either out or when I go into work. There were actually a few times I stopped by work just for a little fun. You know, say hi to everybody, grab myself a drink from there. And I've been asked to cover someone's last few hours because they wanted to go home early. And I was more than happy to do so. But I realized that always dressing like I could go into work was sort of creating an environment where I wasn't really leaving work behind. Getting dressed to go out or getting dressed for work looked the same. A lot of people who work from home or school from home typically find that they feel better and more motivated to do things when they get dressed for the day instead of spending the whole day in their pajamas. It's a lot easier to spend your whole day in your pajamas when you're just home all day, but it kind of puts you in relaxed, at home, ready to binge watch Netflix mode instead of work mode. So I was always in work mode, so I didn't want to do that anymore. And I ended up getting these shirts. Some of them I'm saving for summer, and others, especially this one, I'm wearing now. And now we've made it to the part where I'm actually at my vacation. The first day, I had an absolutely perfect plan. Get up early, get dressed, and head to my happy place, the bookstore. It didn't quite work out. I got up pretty late and didn't get out and about until after 1:30. Late as I was, there I was, outside what is my second favorite bookstore ever. The best way to describe it is enchanting. They have a front desk made of books. Their classical literature is tucked away in an adorable little corner. The children's section is covered with a trellis that glows with fairy lights and flowers. And a spiraling staircase takes you up to a room full of fantasy and wonder. Just like any good bookstore, it feels like a little piece of home away from your own home. And let's be honest, if you really love bookstores, sometimes they feel more like home than home does. It's so delightful in there. They also have a section of stationery and candles and mugs. I did finally go and smell a few of the candles. I love the pumpkin so much. And I so disliked this one for Sherlock Holmes. I'm so sorry, Sherlock, but that is not the scent I'm looking for when I want a candle lit. I took many trips to this bookstore all throughout spring, not just this week. So to keep things simpler, I'm just going to have a little haul of all the books I got throughout spring at the end of the video. But I will say that I did get a lot of the ones you see right now. And I would just like to mention these absolutely astounding editions of these books. I had also been planning to go to a restaurant to pick up dinner on my way back from the bookstore. But by the time I finished, it wasn't even 3:30 yet, which was a problem because the place that I was going to on that specific day didn't open until 4:30. I'll be honest, I expected to be in the store much longer, but I also knew I was going to be making more than one trip there in the week, and I didn't want to buy up all the books I thought I would like to read at once. So I ended up stopping into a random little beauty place and picking up this chapstick. I didn't get much else in the video because there were 3 employees staring at me in a very small store. And even though I knew I was going to buy something, it made me very uncomfortable. And then on a whim, I saw that not too far from the bookstore, there was a creamery. When I was growing up, especially for birthdays, we would take a trip to Barnes & Noble, and then a creamery that was down the street that had the most amazing ice creams. My favorites to get were their mint and mango, and I could not believe my luck. They didn't have mango, but they had chocolate chip and they had chocolate sprinkles. There's a special sundae the creamery from my childhood had, which was brownies, their mint ice cream, chocolate sprinkles, and hot fudge. After they got rid of it as a little special thing, I just get their mint ice cream with chocolate sprinkles. So that's what I got. And you know what? It tasted incredibly similar. I sat in Bugsy with my newfound gem and read a few pages of a book from that day until it was finally time to drive to the restaurant. I had to circle 3 times to find a parking spot, and it was very busy over there. On my way in and then out and then back in and back out, it had started to rain. So I got to run around outside in the rain, and it was incredibly nice. I decided to get their special, and I absolutely adore the menu board. And I also got their raspberry white chocolate gelato. It tasted just like an old Ben & Jerry's flavor from way, way back called Berry Voluntary. Still to this day, my favorite ice cream of all time. And oh my gosh, the pasta. I have not had shrimp that good since I lived on the coast, and it was a wonderful experience. The next day, I had planned to go explore downtown. I'd always wanted to just go explore the downtown area. I just never really had a chance and then never really had the nerve to do it, honestly. But I really wanted to go to at least 3 new places during the spring. And I actually did that all in this day. The first place I wanted to go was somewhere so many people had recommended to me. And it was this multi-level, somewhere between an antique and a thrift store. It was such a bittersweet experience. They had so many great things there. I fell in love with this teacup. I've been looking for a little tray with a cloche for so long. They always have them at TJ Maxx. And I saw this one. I was like, oh, I love that so much. And then they had this gorgeous teapot. If you have ever seen Barbie as Rapunzel from the early 2000s, not only have you seen one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, but you've seen that teapot in that movie. And I have wanted a teapot like that since I saw it. That store was so full of such beautiful items, and I couldn't get any of them. They were priced incredibly well, but the problem is antiques are often coated with lead, and that makes them really dangerous to use. And look at this tea set. If I got this tea set, I would use it constantly, and doing so would make me very sick. Before I could ever think to use it, I would have to get a lead test kit, or I would have to get a food safe glaze and glaze it myself. The teapot, I wanted that teapot so bad. I even went back for it a few days later thinking, well, I could glaze this myself. I could make sure that there's nothing showing just in case. Because it's an antique silver plated teapot, which means it's made of either nickel or lead and plated with silver. And as you can see, it's very, very corroded. So I wouldn't feel safe even coating it myself because the corrosion is just so terrible on it. And if you're wondering about the cloche, the glass was so heavy, it could have easily been made with lead. So while I wanted to get everything I saw like that in the store, I simply couldn't take the risk of the lead exposure. So on to the next place, which was unfortunately also a disappointment. I didn't actually look too hard at the places. I simply saw that it was a store and I decided to walk in. This one was, I guess, a southern type, maybe Midwestern, lifestyle store. It really wasn't for me. So maybe the next place. A tiny clothing store. Also not the best. They focused mainly on shirts that weren't really my style and skirts. And despite the fact that I find myself constantly in distress, I almost exclusively wear skinny jeans. Another bust. Oh, honestly, what did you expect after that? I couldn't imagine anything more healing than the open arms of a bookstore on a rainy day. And look what I found. A perfectly purse-sized edition of The Great Gatsby on my reading list thanks to a fellow Whimsituber. And this gorgeous version of The Fall of the House of Usher. It has sparkly mushrooms on it. It honestly felt like fate that I found it. As the rain slowed and the sky cleared, I decided to stop by a cafe advertising a rose white mocha. It sounded delectable. However, I had been warned by baristas, many baristas, not to get coffee from this place. I did not listen. I wish I had listened. Never again. It was beautiful. The foam was wonderful. The rose petals were adorable, but the coffee itself, not great. Reading outside or in a cafe was also on my list, but unfortunately here, when people see you sitting across from them trying to read, they continue shouting at each other like they're across the room when they're sitting next to each other. Back to Bugsy it was. But another day, another opportunity. I got out my favorite perfume, the Glinda one from Wicked, and set out on a foggy morning to the grocery store. I needed gas, and the flowers I had bought myself had dried up, so I wanted some new ones. I saw a robin gathering twigs for a nest on my way, and the second I walked in, I found the absolutely perfect bouquet in an amazing vase. However, they would have to wait because I've spilled water out of a vase trying to put them in my cart before. They went in just fine, but 3 steps later, the water was on the floor. After picking up a few things, I found this guy. And yeah, I forgot my flowers, but now I have a car buddy. And the next day was my birthday. I got my birthday drink, a Black Forest latte, and they gave me a green straw so it looked like a cherry on a cherry stem. And you'll notice I'm in the passenger seat because a friend and I went out. This is actually the first time I've gone out with a friend on my birthday. We went to Ulta because I really wanted these Alice in Wonderland perfumes, and ours only had the testers left. I also plan to get a few body scrubs because I love body scrubs so much. I mean, look, they had a birthday cake one. Come on, of any day to get it. But I decided against the body scrubs. Instead, I found my dream perfume. Anyone who knows me knows that I love lemon anything, and this perfume smelled so good. It smells just like a lemon tart. Sorry, Glenda, but this is now my new favorite perfume. Unfortunately, it was a little late in the day and they had been busy at work, so we decided to cut our trip short, but we ran into Target, and I'm so glad I did because I found this whipped cream from Favorite Day, raspberry white chocolate, but even more importantly, they had pup cups. My dog loves pup cups so much, and they had a bacon flavor and a peanut butter flavor. Now, he is a little bit of a picky eater, so I wasn't sure, but he absolutely loved it. We walked outside to the sky. Then I got ice cream from the new creamery again, and it was just as good. The day only got better. I got Chick-fil-A for dinner. I love waffle fries. I'm between waffle and smiley fries for the number one best. And it's always best to end with a bang. In this case, a boom of thunder at 2 a.m. I took the week off for my birthday, not just because I was tired and needed a break, but because my last birthday was the worst birthday I've ever had in my entire life. And it was literally because I worked. That day at work was so bad. People who weren't even there that day were still talking about how bad it was weeks later. That day made me want to quit my job. And I love my job. But this birthday, easily the best. I didn't really do anything amazing. There was no party, no huge event, no really special thing. I simply just enjoyed myself the whole day. And then the next day was even better because my best friend took me to an escape room. I've never done an escape room before, and we got to do one that had like a haunted house theme. I didn't get any video because they don't allow any filming. And now, final day of my week off. I did something I've been needing to do for a while. Bugsy's airbag. It had been recalled several months earlier. It honestly is, I think, over an hour from where I live, and that was the only place we could take it to have it done. But there's a mall not too far from that dealership, and when I was talking about how I would be taking the shuttle to the mall, one of my friends was like, I'll go with you. So after dropping Bugsy off for a day at the spa, we ended up wandering around the mall. It was an excellent day. I got a little gift shopping done. I got to go to Hot Topic, which was very nice, and it was just a nice day. At this time, there are only truly a few days of spring left, and the heat of summer is setting in, and so this journey comes to an end. But we face 1,000 ends in our lives, and each time we welcome a new beginning. When I look back, I did so much from my list. The bookstore, four-leaf clover hunting, flower pressing, painting. I even got to read a bit outside before a bumblebee chased me off. Yeah, I visited more than 3 new places, and now I have perfumes and jewelry and clothes to enjoy for months and years to come. And because of this list, there were so many amazing things I got to do that weren't on it. I didn't plan to try a new ice cream place that I would end up loving. I certainly didn't plan to do an escape room. This week was truly a transformative one because something I didn't mention that happened over this week was the day before my birthday. I was walking downtown, free to go wherever I wanted, in my new clothes and in my new jewelry, with the wind in my hair under a beautiful sky, and like the sun's rays coming out from a cloudy sky. It dawned on me all at once. I am a real person in a real world, and I haven't felt like that in a very long time. I simply feel like I exist. And it's such a beautiful feeling. I'm a real, true person, and I get to live a real life.